If dogs go to heaven, what about bugs? Is it really possible to play a skeleton's ribcage like a xylophone? Answers to these questions and more on this episode of This Paranormal Life! Hello! And welcome back to the steroid-injected episode of This Paranormal Life. Every week you are joined by two roided up madmen, me, Kit Grimalvena, and this guy sitting across from me, Mr. Rory Powers. How the hell are you doing today, Rory?
That's right. We wanted to be the best podcasters in the world, so we loaded ourselves up with performance-enhancing drugs. Woo. Unfortunately, there's not really a drug that enhances the performance of podcasting. It's more like physical activity and sport and things like that. So our performance is enhanced, but not really in any way that benefits podcasting.
Right, we heard about performance-enhancing drugs, and we were like, Jesus, imagine Macbeth, but using these drugs. Imagine the performance of a lifetime, Les Miserables.
Yeah.
With these drugs, but they were like, no.
It'll just make him angry.
And,
It'll make him super weird and really angry.
And might, I don't know, make your testicles shrivel. I've heard some rumors.
Oh, mine are tiny.
But
Mine are,
I've got peanuts to begin with. So we're talking thumbtacks at the end of all this, if we're lucky. I don't think I mentioned the main bit because I'm so roided up.
Yes, sorry.
It's not showing though. Yeah, is it? I'm doing this for the camera.
No. Have you actually lifted any weights, or are you just taking the steroids? Because I think you
need
still
to.
do. No, you
What?
do have to also do the physical activity.
What's the point then? I'd get muscles if I lifted weights.
Well, it's supposed to make it
I didn't want
easier,
to
I
lose weight.
think.
All right. I've missed the point of this, which is This Paranormal Life is the weekly comedy podcast where every Tuesday we check out a different paranormal tale, deciding by the end whether it's true or not.
Right.
Just in case anyone is joining us for the first time, which they might be, because we recently had a bit of a different episode, and I think a few more people came to join the fold. So hello, if you come via the Cryptid Factor.
Welcome.
Or you were checking out the work of Reese and Dan, and we had a fantastic time with them on the podcast recently.
And, we are here to investigate a brand new paranormal tale and answer some questions about the paranormal. And I assume today's question is, do bugs go to heaven? That is the question for today's podcast.
I don't want to get too bogged down.
Nice.
Pun not intended.
Nice.
But there's just too many of them, I think that's the primary problem. I mean, have you seen,
Right. They can't go to heaven.
Jesus said, like, everyone's welcome, all that kind of thing. But, like, have you seen a graveyard? They're full. They are full. They're all full.
And that's just the humans.
So
right.
if there's any beetles, any bugs listening, I don't want to offend anyone, but, like, just from a real estate perspective.
Because if I go to heaven and it is wall-to-wall spiders, it might as well be my hell.
Yeah.
Because that didn't work out that doesn't sound good to me. I don't want to do that.
We're getting into some pretty hard-hitting religious questions, but that's not the topic of today's investigation at all. As always, Rory, I have a spanking new paranormal case for you.
Okay, very excited
Ready
to
to
dive
hit it?
into this one. Yeah, let's do it.
Our story begins on October 6th, 1972, in Anchorage, Alaska. A twin-engine Cessna 310 plane sits on the runway on a clear autumnal morning. Congressman Thomas Hale Boggs, more commonly known as Hale Boggs, strolls towards the aircraft in good spirits. Screen went to sleep there. I hope that doesn't interrupt the rest of the podcast. Went to sleep again. All right, Jesus Christ, what is happening?
Turn off low battery mode. Why is your screen going to sleep so much?
Yeah, I've got 2% battery as well, so I don't think there's any turning off low battery mode is the problem.
Charge it.
Huh?
Stop right now and charge your laptop. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to read the script.
We're rolling.
I'm aware.
I think what I'll do is I'll just see how far I get. Didn't mean to hit the laptop there. That's going to get picked up on the microphone.
It's going to knock off a percent or two.
Yeah. We're down to 1.5. It's into
Okay.
0.5s. It's into decimal places. I mean, that's how crucially low we are. I think I just see how far I get, and then it's died. Make up the rest.
Okay.
So Hale Biggs was walking around the train station.
He wasn't.
What did I say?
You said it was an airplane, so he definitely wasn't doing that.
Airport.
By the way, I caught a glimpse of your desktop before your laptop died. You had 72 tabs open at once. So that was probably why it died so fast.
Yeah,
it's not a good idea.
I could not figure out for the life of me how to pronounce his name. I was Googling it all morning. Okay, all right, we've got a little bit more juice. I've plugged it in. We can keep trucking. along with fellow congressmen. Oh, I do need to look that one up as it happens.
That's a couple more tabs. I'm gonna have to open up that one.
It's hot. It is hot in here.
You're like, I'm getting stressed. Can I just put on some lo-fi beats to relax to while I Google this real quick? I gotta open that in a couple tabs.
Along with his fellow congressman Nick Begich, his aide Russell Brown, and the pilot Don Johns, the group are
Why does no one have a normal name?
the group are looking forward to the views on their flight eastbound to Juneau.
Mark Bigot and
No, not Bigot.
And Don John Silver?
Begich. All right. And his pilot, Don Johns.
Okay.
This routine flight is part of the political campaign season. But this flight would be anything but routine.
Air traffic control, Cessna, where are you headed today?
Air traffic control, this is Don Johns. We spoke 1 minute ago. I'm the only pilot at the airport today.
Good afternoon, Cessna N1812H to Juneau. This is air traffic control, Anchorage International. It looks like, now let me check, runway 24 is...
All clear? I can see it's clear.
It looks to be all clear, and you are good for takeoff.
Jesus, thanks, air traffic control.
You didn't say over. Over.
Christ. Over.
Enjoy those clear skies up there, and happy campaigning, Congressman.
Weird, but fine. Okay, 4 hours to land.
But after departing as planned at 9 a.m., the four men would never reach their destination. In fact, they would never be seen again.
Jesus.
The story of their disappearance is a major piece of evidence for a fascinating paranormal phenomena, which we will be investigating today. To understand, let's look more at the case of Hale Boggs, right after a couple of words from today's sponsors, and a reminder that every single episode of This Paranormal Life, the show you're listening to, is available ad-free right now at patreon.com/This Paranormal Life. Link in the description. Rory, Congressman Hale Boggs and Begich were not small-time local politicians. They had serious political power. They were both well-known political figures who had reached the upper echelons of US government, having worked closely with several presidents.
Okay.
So when they disappeared without a trace, it became national news.
So rewind a little bit here, because we got a little too cool with the situation a little too fast. 4 men blipped out of existence.
Well, we're not talking about blipping. I believe that was episode 215, the Liverpool blips. So we are talking, I suppose you could say, of a blip situation.
Right.
Blipping out of existence.
Blip adjacent.
We're talking about, we don't know exactly what's happened yet, but they have not landed at their destination.
Okay, but you said they were never seen again, so presumably they're not turning up anytime soon. I think that qualifies as a blip.
Right, but we need to find out what happened. We can't definitively say they blipped, because a blip is quite a technical thing.
You're like, no one said they blipped. All right, they could have. We just said they didn't arrive at their destination. They could have arrived at a different place, but the story is over. The men are gone.
We don't know what happened. They turned sideways and went 2D like Paper Mario. They went invisible.
Okay,
They're gone.
Right. Well, so they blipped then. They're gone out of existence.
They didn't come back. It's
Okay.
like I can't say that they blipped, but they did not come back.
Right. They went up in a plane, disappeared off the face of the earth. The plane was never seen again, presumably in any shape or form. That's a blipping. That's a blipping as far as I'm concerned.
Your words, not mine.
All right. Well, let's talk it through. I'm sure there's a lot more to this story.
The plane's pilot, Don Johns, had flown it a few hundred miles to Anchorage the night before, where it was thoroughly checked and refueled. This wasn't like when Indiana Jones gets in a prop plane and the pilot is drunk. John was the director of Pan Alaska Air, so a seasoned pilot.
Right.
And yet, barely anything is known about John's and the crew's fate.
And let me tell you, as far as pre-trip checks, vehicle checks go,
Yeah.
a plane has got to be right up there with the vehicle that requires the most amount of checking before a departure.
Right, so we've got spaceship. Like, I shouldn't say spaceship, that makes it sound like a UFO. I mean, like, NASA rocket.
Sure, at the very top of checks.
Very top.
Yeah, to the fact where they do test launches to figure out if that son of a bitch is ready.
Yeah.
At the very bottom, tricycle, I guess.
Yeah.
If the wheels
maybe
move.
closely followed by go-kart. I think they're waiting until the wheels fall off to fix that one.
Yeah. With a tricycle as well, it's like a kid that's on it. So it doesn't even matter if it works or not. You just kind of push him down a hill.
Quite the opposite.
And as long as the thing goes, he'll figure out how to brake. He
We
won't. It's
actually
fine. And
went-
he'll blip onto the highway. He'll be obliterated by a taxi or something. So you don't have to worry about it anyway.
We actually went to school with a kid who his dad was building him a go-kart. I was there for the maiden voyage of the go-kart. The wheels fell off immediately, and this friend of ours ate complete shit. So I learned a valuable lesson that day.
Right.
Sometimes you don't want your dad to do some stuff for you.
Sometimes the kindest thing a father can do is disappear.
You know, it is true. I don't know about planes, but I do know that helicopters, I think, have to be like rebuilt every certain amount of miles. Like, you know, a car gets an MOT check. They
Right.
Get a torch underneath it, make sure nothing's falling apart, every now and again here in the UK.
Yeah.
I believe with helicopters, just like every 50,000 miles, they're like, you got to rebuild. You just got to take it apart, put it back together again, make sure it's safe.
That's wild. So inefficient, it feels like.
Yeah, but I am still never getting in a helicopter. Never been in one, never will get in one.
Ain't gonna happen. Oh, the MIBs would love that. There'd be never an easier moment to take us down. Ain't gonna happen.
Every time I go on holiday, a guy in a black suit, black tie, black hat invites me on a scenic tour of the area. The last transmission from these guys was only 10 minutes into the flight. They filed their flight plan and asked to get a weather update. John said he would fly south to Yakutat and then direct the rest of the way from there. But when they failed to appear in Juneau, the alarm was raised. The search that followed was the largest of its kind to that point in US history. The US Army, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, Civil Air Patrol combed vast areas of the Alaskan wilderness for 39 days. But despite using every plane, helicopter and boat available to them, and a huge amount of civilian volunteers, not a single piece of evidence was ever found.
Wow.
It was as if they blipped.
So they did blip.
Sure, yeah, I needed to get to that bit, but
Okay.
you kind of jumped the gun. A tragic story, no doubt, but one that captured the imagination of many paranormal investigators. You see, to the paranormal community, the disappearance of Congressman Boggs is just one in a huge number of unsolved missing persons cases in this region. Travelers in planes, boats, and on foot have been mysteriously vanishing in this area since the 1950s at least. Apparently, since the 70s, it's at least 20,000 people gone
What?
missing. The Daily Mail points out that despite Alaska being just 1% inhabited, Alaska has way far and away the most missing people compared to any other US state.
Why do people keep going there?
Oh,
Stop going there. 20,000 people have gone missing, and another guy's like, I'm gonna go find them. What could happen to me? Blipped, gone out of existence.
he hadn't even left yet. He was thinking about it and he was blipped.
Look, all I'm gonna say is, when I was younger, I microwaved a bowl of soup with a spoon still in it.
Woo.
Right? And I learned a very hard lesson young, which is metal in a microwave makes shit explode.
Rory spent the next 7 years in intensive care.
And guess what I did after that? Stopped microwaving spoons. It only took one time of burning down one house for me to realize I shouldn't do it. When you were on the 20,001th person going into the wilderness, you should have learned by now. At that point, you deserve to get blipped. There, I said it.
You ever heard the expression, born with a silver spoon in their mouth? Rory had a silver spoon fused to his head after a pot noodle incident in 1998. You're absolutely right. It did get me wondering, why did they go? Now, of course, they went on a political campaign. It is...
Yeah, I'm not calling out these guys. I think it's fine. You would assume in an airplane with a qualified pilot, you would be safe.
Sure, but, I am kind of the mindset that I'm like, if we're going up there to kiss a couple babies and shake a couple hands, maybe a flyer would do. Just mail some flyers,
Yeah,
right?
it's insane.
I think, and if you really want to win people over, mail them $20 with the flyer. Bribe them. bribe the voters. I don't know if we need to get into flying all across Alaska on little tiny planes.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the kind of political publicity stunts.
Right.
Where it's like, to raise money for charity, the prime minister is going to bungee jump off a bridge in Rotterdam. It's like, why? Couldn't he be doing things here that benefit people? It seems a little silly. So I don't necessarily agree with taking a little publicity flight. I don't know what the point of this flight was necessarily.
Can I use this moment as a soapbox for one of my political opinions?
Ooh, okay. Just depending on what it is first. So I think maybe you and me take a little moment aside.
No time for that. World leaders
Okay.
shouldn't get holidays.
I don't necessarily agree with that.
I feel really passionately about this. I don't know if it's just because we had one. I think they didn't need to make a rule in the past.
Yeah.
Because people didn't take the piss. But I think it was when we had Boris Johnson as our prime minister in the UK. Dude took like 16 holidays a year.
He was mostly on holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like, it would always be like some shit would kick off in the UK. It would be like, the economy is tanking. Or it would be like, a bomb has gone off in London. And then it'd be like, where's the prime minister? He's in Greece. He's on a beach in Greece.
He's rushing back from his holiday. He cut his holiday short. It's like, why was he on
he's-
holiday?
We're getting reports. He's got his latte in a to-go cup. He's taking it to go and he's going to the airport. It's like, you're only prime minister for a few years. Most people in this country can't afford to go on holiday for a few years. Is it so hard to just like put in a shift?
Right.
For the few years that you're
being
prime
the
minister?
leader of a nation.
Yeah.
Yeah, just kind of, grind it out a little bit.
We're not getting into politics, so I'm not commenting on Trump. I wouldn't do that. Dude golfed a lot though, didn't he? Constantly golfing. Every weekend he flew back to Florida to go golfing. It's like, I don't want to say that you should work Sundays, should work Saturdays, but like there's a lot of stuff going on, isn't there?
Let's get, this is now a political podcast, all right? I think we should just start airing our most controversial opinions.
Maybe because mine was pretty uncontroversial, so maybe we do a quick sidebar off camera.
Nah, I think we're just going to let this one out of here.
Okay.
If you don't wash your hands after you use the toilet, you're not allowed to vote. There's mine.
I don't hate that.
Okay, there's another one for you.
Can I just add on to that?
Sure.
We need to sanity check the whole using your phone while you pee thing for men at the toilet.
Yeah.
I'm a little uncomfortable with how comfortable we've got with that. That for a while was like a rogue maneuver you would see every now and again in a public toilet.
Right.
Was a guy, one hand on the wall, one hand on the phone,
Yes.
peeing. I don't love that because that now seems to be everywhere and everyone.
Phones don't really have any place in a public bathroom. I don't think that's a controversial opinion. It really shouldn't be
This
involved.
is us at the 2024 debates. Don't love that one. Okay, we're a bit off topic. We're going to rein it back in. 20,000 plus people since 1970 alone. Now, these mad figures about this area in Alaska have given rise to a new theory and a new name. We've heard of the Bermuda Triangle or the Bridgewater Triangle. What about the Alaska Triangle?
Ooh, now this, I assume, is wherever these people are going missing, we can kind of triangulate the specific area in which these strange disappearances are taking place.
Yeah, we're basically putting pins in a cork board and then kind of loosely seeing that they do, in fact, line up. Let me just go ahead and show you, Rory, because this triangle, and it's not an equilateral triangle, I will say that. It is a little obtuse. It goes from approximately Anchorage in the west, southeast to Juneau, and then the northern tip at Barrow Point, all the way in the Atlantic Circle. Check it out.
Whoa! Okay. That is not the triangular shape I was thinking of.
It looks like they're really reaching to get Juneau in on the triangle.
Yeah, this is not... I mean, it is a triangle, but it isn't really a triangle.
It is a triangle. I don't want you saying it's not a
No,
triangle.
but you know what I mean. It's not like symmetrical or looks like a pyramid or something. It looks like the tip of a spear. Okay, it's bigger than I thought as well. It actually stretches across this side of the continent.
Listen, Alaska's a
coast.
crazy place, so the triangle is going to be pretty crazy.
Right. I think, one problem we might have in this week's episode is when we've investigated the Bridgewater Triangle or something like this, that is a triangle located out in the ocean where ships have gone missing.
Right.
Essentially just a patch of sea that is suspiciously dangerous. We are talking about a corner of Alaska that is so barren and inhospitable. We're going to have to decide whether or not it's paranormal that people are going missing here, or if it is just a very treacherous place to try and get through.
Couldn't agree less.
Okay.
Because the water...
You hit me? Oh!
like Punch and Judy. Because the water is the most inhospitable of all. Think about it.
Wrong.
If a plane goes
Wrong.
plane goes down in the water, it is going to by default sink to the bottom of the ocean. Now that could be miles down, almost impossible to recover without high-tech specialized equipment.
Yeah, true.
Whereas if this is on land, it should just stay there forever. And it should be that if we do send out thousands of people, thousands of volunteers and crafts and helicopters to go visually look for it, we should just be able to see it from the sky.
That's true. The sea is a different kind of enemy, isn't it? I guess on the land you've got...
It's a sea anemone.
You've got I was supposed to say monsters, but you've got well, depending on what you think about cryptids, you do have monsters.
Yes.
But you have beasts. What's the word? Animals. You have animals that can be a bit more dangerous than maybe you wouldn't have in the ocean. But also you can't walk on water. So yeah, I do get that the ocean is dangerous in its own way.
I will take your point. It's a point that will come up throughout. There's no denying this is a treacherous bit of land. But one thing I find pretty interesting is by studying that triangle, we're going to pretty quickly, I think, figure out whether it's really paranormal. Because yes, the contents of that triangle are wild and barren and rugged. But everywhere else in the Alaska state is also wild and barren and rugged. So why this triangle?
Right.
Well, Rory, this theory and its stories aren't actually completely new to us. We've covered paranormal events in Alaska before, and one story is actually one of my favorite cases we've ever done. Japan Airlines Flight 1628.
I don't remember that case.
This was about 4 years ago, all the way back in episode 126.
Wow.
We called it Japan Airlines Flight 1628, the most convincing UFO encounter ever?
We really hadn't covered that many UFO encounters at that point, apparently.
In 1986, a Japan Airlines flight was running cargo from, I believe, Japan to the USA. Might have that wrong, but it was cargo across America anyway. And at 5 p.m. on that journey, Captain Kenji Terauchi was cruising at 35,000 feet above the Alaskan wilderness, right inside the Alaskan Triangle. To try and jog your memory, Rory, he spotted 3 strange lights in the sky to the west. Now, at first, he thought they were military crafts and didn't pay much attention, but when their movements became erratic and unnatural, he made a report to the Federal Aviation Administration. That transmission described objects flying parallel and then very close. He described them as 2 small ships and then the mothership.
Whoa, I do remember this.
Right? The FAA confirmed that there were no other scheduled flights in the area, military or otherwise. They actually ordered him to take evasive action at the time. So he dropped altitude and went off course. But even so, they followed him almost for a full hour, and 400 miles later, then they finally peeled off.
I'd be so pissed off if I radioed something in like this and they were like, all right, your orders are evasive action. You're like, I'm a cargo plane. I know how to take off and land. You think I can do a barrel roll in this thing? The wings would snap. What am I going to do against fighter jets from planet Gargon? Like, they're going to be able to track me.
It's a tough position to be in.
Yeah.
Because I also don't want to eject. I don't want to use the ejector seat.
Really?
Because then I feel like they're just going to, like, if they're going to War of the Worlds, just catch me like a Pokemon in a ball. Just,
Right,
I feel like that's when it's going to happen, when I kind of leave my pod. You know?
Right. See, I'm the exact opposite. I'm looking for any excuse to pull that lever and get straight out of there. If we could be on the runway and if my coffee's a little bit too hot before the flight, I'm just in a sheer panic, pulling the lever on the runway.
They're like, Terauchi, the plane is directly above a kindergarten. You cannot eject. I don't give a shit. I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
They're going to blip me. I could feel it. They're going to blip me. I have to eject.
It's a cloud formation, Terauchi. Calm down. And not only that, civilian and military radar later confirmed strange anomalies detected at the time of Terauchi's sighting. It is a really cool case, and I do recommend listening to the episode, even though we were prepubescent 4 years ago.
Right.
So that's going to be a little hard listening.
Now, he didn't get
Episode
blipped.
126. He didn't.
He didn't get blipped. He survived to this day. But he maybe saw the blippies, the blippers. If this is a possibility, we're talking about alien crafts existing in this triangle that are tractor beaming people into their claws.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
it's almost as if, if you flew a plane into Russian airspace, some fighter jets would probably line up beside you and be like, Russian accent, what the hell are you doing here? The same went here, that it's like Terauchi entered the Alaskan Triangle and the UFOs from planet Gargon were like, alien accent, what the hell are you doing here?
Right, I see. We've edged into their territory.
But I love when this type of thing happens. We investigated a great paranormal case 4 years ago. It was pretty convincing then, and now when we revisit it all these years later, we have a little bit more context. In this case, it's part of a whole area of weird paranormal phenomenon.
Love this.
It turns out this is far from the only UFO report in this area too. There have been many since World War II. In one documentary by the Discovery Channel, a local man, Wes Smith, reported seeing, quote, very strange triangular objects flying without emitting any sound. And UFO expert Debbie Ziegelmeyer has argued that Alaska's sparse population and uninhabited landscape would be a perfect place for aliens to do research, saying, quote, they can pretty much go where they want.
Yeah, not a bad point.
Does this feel important to you, Rory? Could UFOs be somehow connected to the disappearances of planes and people? Did these people, mafia style, see too much or get too close to the truth?
It does seem like a strange place for this all to be going down, some random corner of Alaska. I mean, is there a record? You said 20,000 people at one point. Didn't really bring any evidence to back up that claim. Is there a record of how many planes have gone down? Or is it just people going into the mountains and not coming back?
Oh, it's a mix. I think the Bermuda Triangle, it's a big bloody mix. The Bermuda Triangle is kind of famous for shipwrecks, but also a lot of plane disappearances. Here, same goes. It's a mix of people on foot in vehicles and in planes. I do think it is a lot in planes because I don't know how many people are really trying to trek great distances on foot there.
Right.
That seems like a bad idea.
I mean, at a certain point, fly around it, right? Even if you're not superstitious or believe in the paranormal, it just seems like a dangerous place to fly a plane.
It sure does. But I think on the contrary, it's a funny one. I mean, I don't know the inside out of how flight paths are calculated. I do know that more often than not, plane routes are designed to be overland instead of oversea where possible, because you stand a greater chance of landing and surviving than over water. And also, I think because it's Alaska, these distances are pretty bloody massive. So I think like if you're right in the middle of that triangle and you're trying to get to the other side, to go around it would probably take hours and hours and hours.
Right. So it's not worth the fuel expenditure. It's worth risking your life for.
I don't want to say it's like drunk driving, but it's a kind of calculated risk, if you will.
Right.
It's like, I might die. I'll also save a hell of a lot of time.
It is the quickest way home, though. Because I can't even see the speed limit.
Well, that is but one interesting idea. But other researchers wonder if the disappearances are something more physical and down to earth, but maybe even more paranormal. Let's find out more after a couple words from today's sponsors. What if the disappearances are connected to cryptids? Our listeners know that the Pacific Northwest de los Estados Unidos is known as Bigfoot country. Think Washington, Oregon, British Columbia.
Okay.
But if a 9 to 14 foot hairy beast could be hiding in a Wendy's car park in Portland, or what untold horrors could be hiding in the Alaskan wilderness?
Right, got it.
I'm thinking something 6 to 8 times the size of Bigfoot.
Based off of what?
My experience as a paranormal investigator.
Okay. All right, because I thought you were going to say, could it be Bigfoot that's out here? And I was like, I don't think he can take down
Biggerfoot.
he can't take down a plane.
Think King Kong.
We'd see him. We would see him, I think. Because he's the size
even
of...
from Google Earth, we'd see
He's
him.
the size of the Empire State Building, I believe. Okay. Don't love this. Mm-hmm. You know,
Can I quickly Google if they've ever found King Kong on Google Earth?
why would you go? He's a fictional monkey.
King Kong. Google Earth. There's got to be something.
You know, he's not even a cryptid, right? He's from a movie.
Yeah, there's nothing really.
Yeah.
Really
Well, I don't know why you
nothing
thought
there.
there'd be anything there.
Worth a look. Sorry, go on.
But hey, I know that in this case today, we have to consider all possibilities.
We do.
Whether or not it is a UFO, whether or not we're on some sort of paranormal ley lines right here, or whether or not that there is some sort of cryptid or beast. And I think when we're considering that option, I have to say that I couldn't agree less.
Oh!
That's right.
Oh, Christ. Right in the kisser, I have to command that play.
I don't think this isn't cryptid activity. The person said they saw lights in the sky and alien fighter jets. So we're probably not dealing with something organic here.
You say that, Rory. You might think it's bullshit, but it's said that the fishing town of Portlock in Alaska was abandoned in the 1950s because it was plagued by, quote, Bigfoot disturbances. Some say that the Sasquatch attacked and even killed people there,
I think we did. Isn't this another episode we did?
as featured in the TV show Alaskan Killer Bigfoot. Did we?
I don't know. I'll have to search.
I hope not. Makes me sound stupid if I don't remember.
Yep. We already did it. It was episode 203, Portlock, Alaska's mysterious abandoned ghost town.
Hey, even more evidence to the fold, brother. So we presumably came down on a yes on that.
I don't think we
particular
did.
episode.
Also worrying that this episode was even more recent than the one you mentioned, but because it was my episode instead of yours, it apparently just water off a duck's back, in one ear, out the other.
No.
Unfortunately.
No. I'm just... So, is it possible that the same Bigfoot we discussed in episode, what the did you say, 205 or some shit?
203.
203? That great case that we all remember and love and remember dearly.
That he took down a plane?
Is it that maybe the plane goes down on its own, but maybe once they're like, oh, Debbie, are you okay? Frank, are you okay? Oh, geez, my head hurts. A bit like in the video you showed Reese and Dan that did turn out to be fake, yes, but
Yeah.
a beast comes out of the woods and chomps them in the wilderness.
It's so worrying to be at a point in a case where you think that Phil's not even going to be on board and want to provide you with sound effects for your stories. You have to do it live in the podcast. You're like, Phil's probably going to be tuned out by this point, so I'm going to have to do the sound effects. What's that over there?
Hey, that was good, Phil. If you could just put that when I told that story, if you could just rewind that.
Gonna nip this one in the bud here. No. How about we blip that explanation out of the episode? How about that? How about that goes away and it doesn't come back?
Hey, this is
How about
my
that's the last
episode.
time we hear that theory?
I'll blip you. I'll blip you in the face with a 2x4.
Not a blip, then. That's just assault. I'll blip you in the head with a bullet.
Whoa!
Not a blip.
Okay, I realize that you've already shut this down, but I've written this next bit down, so I have to say it.
Okay,
Even if you don't
let's
think
hear
this
it.
is why people are disappearing, it's said that in the local folklore,
Don't talk normal. Why are you
The
talking
local-
so weird?
the local Tlingit and Tsimshian people tell of a shape-shifting creature that lures people deep into the wild before tearing them apart. The Kushtaka.
Ooh, okay. I do like this one more than Bigfoot.
To gain the victim's trust, the Kushtaka shapeshifts from looking like an otter, yep, but I bet it's a really scary otter, into the form of their victim's family member or friend.
Wait, so why is he in...
Lures them in and then, I guess, changes into an otter and then eats them.
I don't see the point of the otter.
Right.
Because if he has a monster form...
No, but that is the monster form, really.
The otter?
Yeah.
Wait, stop.
I said it was a shapeshifter. I didn't say. I think I kind of made it sound like it was going to be a terrifying beast, but it looks a little like an otter.
Okay, so that is its true form.
Yeah.
It doesn't shapeshifts into an
No,
otter.
it shapeshifts into looking like a person.
Right. And then
trick you.
it lures you into the woods and then it becomes an otter again
Yeah.
and eats you. Okay. Next explanation. Blip. Blip. Gone.
Oh, jeez. All right.
Yeah, can I just see that otter for a second? No, I'm going to blip. He's blipped.
I do want to look it up now. The Kushtaka, the Afghan Kushtaka. Jesus, whoa. I wasn't even going to look up what that thing was until you just mentioned it, but whoa.
That's not an otter.
It's got the head of an otter.
It's like a giant, it's awful looking.
The body of a swimsuit model and the head of an otter.
That's terrifying.
But you know, Rory, I know you love that explanation, but there's one problem. It can explain the larger disappearances because, whoa, were these otters taking down planes?
Did you write? You obviously wrote all of this thinking I was going to be really on board with the otter thing.
No.
you are.
You were really on board with
I
it.
wasn't. I blipped him.
I've edited it to make it sound like you were. So.
Oh, come on now.
Like, for example, one of the craziest disappearances happened around 74 years ago. A US Air Force Douglas C-54 Skymaster disappeared in January 1950.
Cool name for a plane.
The plane had a whopping 44 military and civilian passengers on board, and no trace was ever found.
What the hell?
It last made radio contact right over Snag in Alaska, well within the Alaska Triangle. All we know is the plane never reached its destination in Montana. Also, during the rescue operation, 3 more planes crashed.
Oh my God. Don't send planes! Don't send planes into the triangle that takes down planes! That's a terrible idea.
But after 1 month of 7,000 people searching, not one clue was found. No wreckage and no survivors.
That's like being like, oh, did you hear Hansel and Gretel disappeared in that house owned by a witch who eats kids? We should send in a bunch more kids to go look for them.
Yeah.
Don't send in more children. She eats children.
Line up the kids to send them into the witch's lair. Oh, these ones are too skinny. Let's get some chunkier kids in here. Like,
That's
no,
a
you're
terrible idea.
selecting. You're selecting for these kids to not come back.
Send an adult with a gun into the house to clear it out like a SWAT team.
Send John Wick into the witch's gingerbread house. But, of course, one of the most popular explanations for the Alaska Triangle or the Bridgewater or the Bermuda Triangle is the Vortex theory. This is the theory that certain areas of our Earth are supercharged with an electromagnetic energy, either through underground crystals or intergalactic geometry, and that this creates an energy vortex, a spot where strange stuff happens, basically. Or the veil between our world and the paranormal spirit world is either thin or it's just a portal, like that New York to Dublin portal that got shut down because everyone was getting naked in front of it.
Right, people thought that the city built that. That turned up one day. Right. The portal turned up and they had to kind of just build stone around it to make it look like it was done by the government.
Yeah, Megatron was flying over New York City and he dropped the Allspark, and when it hit the ground, it created a portal. It was a whole thing.
I like this explanation. I think there's just enough kind of nonsense terms in there to kind of make anyone agree with it.
Yeah, did you like intergalactic geometry?
What does that mean? Yeah.
Not a lot.
Underground crystals.
We have seen underground crystals have been claimed to exist in a lot of places, but
Yeah.
it's a bit woo-woo, isn't it?
I think they were used in a case to justify a mysterious light appearing above ground.
That's right.
Because if quartz crystals are rubbed together or there's friction between them, it can generate maybe electricity or light or sparks. Maybe not a portal to another world. Sure,
Not
fine.
yet.
But I do like this. We've seen this a lot with ley lines, which is kind of paranormal lines that run through the earth that have kind of suspicious activity that go on. Do we know if there's any ley lines that run over this particular triangle in Alaska?
It's not super convenient that we recently said ley lines were bullshit on the
sure.
podcast quite recently, but it is true. I mean, I'm looking even at a map right behind your head of kind of lines going through, what is that, City of London?
That's London, yeah. That was sent in by a fan of the podcast.
Londinium. But it appears to be triangulating points across the city. The point is, this is a long kind of studied area, which is like, I mean, this is like the definition of human endeavor into trying to figure out what's going on in the paranormal world. Weird things happen.
Yeah.
You know, you're a caveman. One weird thing happens. One day, a white berry turns up. And normally, there's only ever pink berries on that tree, but one day it's a white berry. People start worshiping the berry. Weird stuff starts happening.
Your analogies over the years have gotten so strange to the point where by the end of them, I don't understand what your point was. What does that mean?
I'm saying one weird thing happened, okay? Right? Then the next day...
And I've let them go on for long enough, and I feel like it's getting to a point where you're almost testing me. Like, what is a story I could use that's so irrelevant and does not reflect the point I'm making at all? So what is the point of the white berry?
And then another day, something else weird happens. I'm not going to make up something because you're going to get angry at me.
Okay.
But another weird thing happens another day. The human brain wants to make sense of the two events. It wants to connect them. It wants to understand why the white berry shows up one day and why the other weird thing happens another day. So suddenly you get out a map.
So you didn't even make up a second thing.
Because you attacked me. And you attacked me pretty angrily as well. And you made it clear that my theories weren't welcome on the show.
Okay.
The point is, you're trying to connect disparate events. And so you start drawing lines on a map, or you start saying, hey, well,
right.
You know, there's something on the ground that's a certain way here, and that's similar to the other place where the weird thing happens. Maybe it's underground crystals. Yeah. Maybe the stars line up in a certain way and hit the light here. That is human nature, to try and connect these things. The problem is, I don't know that we know that there's energy crystals underground Alaska. I mean, some people who investigate the paranormal, I think, have claimed that there's like, if you run around with an EMF reader in Alaska, it's particularly weird.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know if that's proven, to be quite honest. But that doesn't stop energy vortexes being quite a popular theory. I've always said I wanted to go visit the vortexes in Arizona, Antelope Canyon, places like this. There's supposedly lots of places in America where the energy is weird and we don't quite know why.
Right. Yeah, no, I get it. And I think it is interesting. You are right. As humans, we have evolved to see patterns because that is how you survive. You know, let me just pick a crazy example out of thin air here. But let's say you're a caveman, and one day you find a white berry, you know, and you eat that berry, and the berry makes you sick.
No, the berry doesn't make you sick. You stopped me in my story. The berry doesn't make them sick.
No, right? I'm stealing the analogy because I'm going to use it anyway. No, it's not a sacred berry.
It is a sacred berry.
So the pattern you're seeing is me eat white berry, me have diarrhea. So no more white berry.
Sorry. It's a sacred berry. It wouldn't give you diarrhea because it actually imbibing the white berry has a lot of beneficial, it's connected to the energy.
I don't understand how your analogy works in relation to what we're talking about today. You're just talking about a magic berry now, it seems like.
You're the one talking about eating berries and shitting them out all over the place.
But it's a pattern. It's a correlation, you know? We've learned what's poisonous through process of elimination. It's why humans see faces. That's an evolution technique for survival.
Rory would be the caveman that gets killed by all the other cavemen because everyone's worshipping the berry and then Rory comes up in the middle of the night and eats it.
So I get this. This is just humans taking the paranormal to the logical step. Weird, dangerous shit is going down in this area, so we're trying to find an explanation as to why it's happening. As
you say, Rory, you know, these are the same reasons for what people have claimed surround places like Stonehenge in England or the pyramids of Giza in Egypt. But before we completely shit all over the idea of there being some kind of weird vortex that swallows people up, can I just point out how insane it is that explanation sounds like absolute bollocks? But remember when they were powering up the CERN Hadron Collider back in like 2012 and scientists were like, yeah, if we try and simulate the creation of the universe, we might accidentally create a new mini universe and create a black hole in the French countryside that will swallow everything up. Like, how is that science? But what I'm saying is bullshit.
Yeah, that scared me a weird amount when I was younger. I don't remember what age I was when that was all going down, but that was a genuine worry where scientists were like, yeah, we're reaching a point where we could theoretically create a black hole. And if we did it, it would consume everything from the outside in and essentially destroy the entire world. It's like, is anyone keeping an eye on these? because they are a little bit of clown makeup away from being a supervillain. That's all it takes.
Yeah. If you see them giggling a little too hard at something, and they're like, then suddenly it's eking a little too close to Joker territory.
Right.
Yeah, and then the media were like interviewing them, and they were like, well, how likely is this? And they were like, not very. 1-2% chance? They're like,
Right,
that's quite likely.
We really don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And they were like, and how would we know if it happened? They were like, oh, you wouldn't. So everything would end instantly.
Yeah.
So it would be faster than the speed of light. You wouldn't know. It's like, oh, great. Oh, good.
Cool. That's really exciting.
No notice then for the end of the world.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Is that nicer than some notice? Maybe it would be nicer if it just like your universe has stopped running. Essentially, kind of like task manager freeze. That'd be kind of nice.
I just need 5 seconds just to pull out my phone, tweet #YOLO, and then just look. As always in this Paranormal Life, we do have to sadly include more rational explanations than berries. And today, that explanation is that Alaska is basically a different planet. It is vast. It is unforgiving.
Sure.
And there's nothing bloody in it. So if you get lost, you are pretty sure to die and unsure to ever be found. But I didn't want to leave you on a rubbish, serious note of like, blah, 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 you should stay safe, blah, blah, blah. Don't turn into another missing persons, blah, blah. Bring food on a hike. I wanted to leave you with a blistering red hot conspiracy.
Okay, should bring food on a hike though, real quick. Just even like a little snack bar or
Hike
something.
like a real man and eat berries, any that you see. Let's go back to Congressman Boggs and hunt for a little more information.
Okay.
In 1963, Boggs had been a prominent participant in the Warren Commission, the official investigation into the assassination of JFK. Throughout the investigation, Hale Boggs repeatedly questioned the accepted story. He criticized the FBI and later stated that the inquiry should be reopened. He is quoted as saying, "It is human nature that many people prefer to believe there was a conspiracy." Rory, what did Boggs know? Was he flying too close to the sun? And the sun was wearing a black suit and an earpiece and holding a gun?
So he believed there was a conspiracy?
He was very open to the idea.
Okay, so didn't necessarily believe it, but...
Well, basically, it was a shut case, and he wanted to reopen the case.
Right. So you think he was taken out of the sky by MIBs?
Hey, I don't want to get unalived by a MIB, so I'm not saying I believe anything, but I'm just saying.
You're about to win a free flight to Alaska, brother. Let me tell you the way you're talking.
In the back of my McDonald's fries. Yo, crazy helicopter ride to Anchorage. That's nuts. Just interesting.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that it's interesting we started with that story because obviously them being in the political space, it does leave more room for conspiracy theories, because they could have had enemies, either rival politicians, or maybe, as you said, they were privy to some secret information that was about to see the light of day. You never know. But then it's, as you said, there was just also a Japanese guy carrying a bunch of boxes who saw UFOs. So that dude caught a stray. He didn't need to get wrapped up in all of this. Poor son of a bitch.
Yeah, he was minding his own business. I mean, if that had been in today's day and time, he probably would have been playing Candy Crush, minding his own business.
I want to know how far this blipping goes. Is it just any aerial object is taken out of the sky? Like, at one point in history, has a goose just been flying through the air and then it was like, honk! And now he's just floating in some sort of zero gravity portal world. And the aliens are like, oh, we got another goose. It's like, we got to change the sensitivity on the blipper because we're blipping bumblebees, geese, ducks. We need to crank it a little higher intensity.
I mean, one thing I didn't even bring up, but we have talked about on other episodes, is the kind of semi-recent, like, do you remember the Chinese spy balloon era?
Yeah.
And I'm just reminded when you talk about cranking the sensitivity, because supposedly that was part of the story of we started noticing, not we, but the American government started noticing a lot more aerial unidentified objects, apparently due to a changing of the sensitivity. They were trying to detect spy balloons and ended up seeing a lot of other things. I believe some of those objects crashed or were shot down over Alaska. And I think in at least one case, those items were never recovered. They searched for them because I said on the podcast, I was like, how the can't you, like, you know where you shot it down. Surely you can just find it again. But they couldn't because that's Alaska. I don't know. I mean, on the one hand, that's more paranormal strangeness happening over Alaska.
Yeah.
That these like unidentified objects were flying over it. On the other hand, if you're a skeptic, you're saying, well, there you go. The American government is shooting down objects and then they still can't find them.
Well, here, let me tell you what really happened, Kit. They found it. Right. You don't think they found it? They found it.
Right.
Yeah. We just don't want it. They don't want us to know what they found.
It's like the policeman at the scene of the crime walks over to the evidence, kicks a bunch of dust over it. Oh, there's nothing here. There's absolutely nothing here. All right, pack it up, everyone. Yeah, I think they might have called in the Roswell Moving Company before they kind of let the journalists in on that little piece of information.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right. More interesting paranormal activity happening over Alaska.
But at the end of every episode of This Paranormal Life, me and you, Rory, have to decide whether our given case is paranormal or not. We have to decide whether the Alaska Triangle is really paranormal or not. What are you thinking today?
I always like investigating these kind of cases. Don't know why it's always a triangle. It always seems to be a triangle. I don't know why it's not ever
a sphere, never a cylinder.
A hexagon,
Yeah.
an octagon. They even sound more spooky and paranormal. A trapezium even. I would love for a trapezium to be the subject of an investigation. But it is always a triangle. What we're seeing here is textbook. It is planes going into a certain area and disappearing. You know, the only problem that we're going to have is this is just a treacherous place to fly a plane or try and walk through. So it's also very likely that a lot of people are disappearing because that's just what happens when you go into the Alaskan wilderness. It's not very hospitable. So I'm struggling today to see enough evidence to prove that this is strictly paranormal activity.
I don't want to make it all about physical evidence, but physical evidence often does help us push over the edge into yeses. And in this case, we have really none. That's the definition of it. We can't find... I would love a laser torched piece of a Cessna aircraft, but we don't have that. I
mean, we wouldn't love that. We wouldn't love that.
I would love it.
No, that
would
would
love
be
it.
super
Covered in blood.
disturbing and dark. Yeah.
Ideally.
Also, just a very fun little coincidence that you don't want us to get too obsessed with physical evidence at the end of your episode. But when it's the end of Rory's episode, physical evidence really is the only thing required to get a case over the line, which is coincidentally what I never have either. So,
well, we have that in common then. Rest assured, Rory, this isn't going to be a biased conclusion on my part. I'll take the lead and say, I think in this case, like some of the other triangles, we just don't have enough to go on here.
It's just such a bad sentence. Like some of the other triangles we've investigated. That's an indication we don't need to do any more triangles.
And yes,
because we've done 6 now, and they've all been no's.
Top of the morning, everyone, because next week it'll be the Irish. Ireland kind of looks like a triangle when you really think about it. I think it's probably a no.
It's going to be a no from me as well this week.
Yikes.
Ooh.
Ladies and gentlemen, what a waste of time, am I right?
Not a waste of time. What a fun little adventure we went on.
Wow, really wish I hadn't bothered my ass.
We heard about that beaver that turns into a guy, even though he's already kind of half a guy already.
All right, let's not be crass. It's an otter.
And then sorry.
Get your mind out of the gutter. Hey, we had fun anyway, talking about actually a place we don't end up too often on This Paranormal Life, because I think I mentioned every case that we've done there, which is episode 126, 203, and now episode 350 something.
I would say we end up there more often than we should. That's actually quite a lot of cases to do in Alaska. We're probably missing 1 or 2 as well.
It's a big place though.
I want to know how Santa Claus delivers presents here without getting blipped into the third dimension.
Here's what I sometimes think this about the United Kingdom. because I think a lot of countries do this, right? Where we've got the Royal Mail and they deliver our letters. And one thing they have to do is, I can't remember what they call it, but it's like a universal promise or something, where for like 100 years or 200 years, they've said, we're going to treat everyone the same. And whatever it costs for me to mail a letter across London to you, it's the same price to mail that letter from the bottom of the country all the way to the tiniest little island off the coast of Scotland or something. So no matter where you are,
I didn't know that.
in the UK, it always costs the same price because they don't want to treat anyone differently.
Right.
And so you kind of see this, it's kind of a bit mad. But then if you're on like an island off Scotland, or if you're in Northern Ireland or somewhere remote, I'm always like, this is mental. Like, so if you just live in the middle of nowhere, the postman's still got to get out to you and deliver the post to you.
Yeah.
And I wonder, that's what I want to know now. That's a little boring thing that I want to know is, how do they do that in Alaska? Because it takes the piss, doesn't it? It's like absolutely massive. It's like, how is that the same as delivering a letter across Chicago? Is delivering one from Chicago to, you're practically in Russia, mate.
Yeah.
Up at the tip of Alaska.
I'm not doing that.
No.
If I got picked, I'd be like, look, we can strap it to an eagle or something and send him, but I'm not going. Because 13 other postmen have gone to try and deliver this letter, and I'm not going to be number 14.
Yeah. The post office workers are speaking at the other postie's funeral, and they're like, the up thing, it was an Amazon package. The guy ordered a phone charger. It's like, it's not that important.
It wasn't worth it.
It really wasn't worth it.
Yeah. Can you imagine if you're like right at the entrance to this Alaskan triangle and you're like, I'm just gonna take it easy. I'm just gonna attach the letter to a pigeon and I'll just let the pigeon go the rest of the way. And you're like, all right, buddy, here you go. You set him loose and you just hear, the pigeon just disappears and you're like, all right, he got blipped.
Yeah.
He blipped.
We should just mark that one loss of the post, because
that one's gone.
That ain't arriving. I did see that years ago. I don't know whether you can still do that. I did see as like a fun fact that there is a pizza delivery by plane in Alaska somewhere.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, like a prop plane delivers pizza.
Really?
Yeah, in some like tiny town somewhere.
How do they land?
Must be.
Is there a runway or something?
Expensive pizza ever.
Or does he like parachute down
I like that.
out of the box? That'd be kind of cool.
Alaska listeners, let us know many small questions about a very big place. Thank you so much for listening to this episode all about the Alaskan Triangle.
Can you imagine the Domino's delivery man having to call headquarters and be like, I'm performing evasive maneuvers.
I'm at 35,000 feet. We got mothership to my west side. We're going to man the turret.
They're coming for the cheesy crust. Doing evasive maneuvers. I'm having to drop the load. I repeat.
If you have enjoyed this episode, you should probably go back and listen to the ones we mentioned, if you haven't already, all about those Alaskan paranormal events. But if you do run out of brand spanking new TPL episodes to listen to, remember, there is many, many, many more over at patreon.com/this paranormal life.
It's true.
Some that are even more actually true than the story we just talked about today.
Then a triangle.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know what you're thinking. That's the most exciting shape there is. What could you possibly have that's more juicy than this? Well, let me blow your mind. Sometimes they aren't even about shapes.
Right.
Sometimes they're actually about real things that have happened.
Well, shapes are real. And sometimes they are. And we will find a triangle that is real. Many, many fantastic investigations available right now ad-free at patreon.com/this paranormal life, along with a lot of other cool rewards. That's monthly bonus episodes, of which there's 80 plus whatever.
There's loads.
There's weekly after parties, behind the scenes podcasts with me and you shooting the shit and saying stuff we wouldn't be able to say on the main episode.
Yeah.
As well as shout outs, physical rewards, a gold and silver members coin of the commune.
Yeah, digital rewards as well. There's a really cool This Paranormal Life wallpaper you can download from Patreon. It's going to be a .exe file, and when you try and open it up, it's going to ask if it can have admin permission for your laptop. Hit accept real quick.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to ask again if it has permission to read and write files. Hit accept again. It's going to say, this is a virus. Are you sure? That is like a little joke. That's like a joke for the show, that it's like, because
That was a joke from like episode 2 or 3 or something. Yeah, it was
right.
like an
It's
in-joke
going to
that
say,
started.
this is malware. This is malware.
Yeah.
At this point, your computer is going to possibly go on fire because we found that laptops would rather destroy themselves internally than actually open the program. Wallpaper. Sorry. Can we cut that?
It's all
Actually
worth it
slip-
though. The wallpaper.
The wallpaper.
Oh boy, the wallpaper.
This wallpaper, it's
What year
high
is
resolution.
it? A downloadable wallpaper
you're
reward?
gonna, between you and me, brother, it ain't a wallpaper.
Oh.
Yeah. So, just run it. Run the application.
Run the wallpaper.
Run
yeah.
You're going to want to give the wallpaper admin permission and enable it to connect to your home Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and don't do this on a phone. There's no phone wallpaper. We can't steal shit from phones. You got home family desktop.
Yeah. Yeah. Send it to the family as well. Really spread it.
And if your dad's rich, send it to your dad. Rich guys love this wallpaper, even if they haven't heard the show.
Yeah. Really, the older, more gullible and senile a relative, the better. They would really love this wallpaper.
For sure.
So, yeah. So check out the wallpaper.
Over at patreon.com. Link
Yeah.
is in the description of this podcast. Also in the description of a YouTube video if you're watching this on YouTube. Hello. Hello, Mum.
Hello, Mum. Did you open the attachment to the email I sent you of a wallpaper you're really going to love?
And at the end of every episode, we do a couple shout outs for those who are supporting us on the shout out tier.
Hey,
Let's jump right into it. Thank you so much to Tim Reese.
Timmy, my friend, I noticed that you opened my recent email on an iPhone, and buddy, that just isn't going to work for me. You need to open that up on a desktop.
Why would that be?
Preferably with an Ethernet cable before you open the wallpaper. Okay? So
You emailed them the wallpaper?
I emailed them the
That's
wallpaper.
how they get the wallpaper. Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
you sign up for Patreon and you get it.
You personally email them? It's so time consuming. Okay.
It's fine. It all works out in the end. So Tim, if you could just open it up with a stable internet connection, and as I said, hit accept to everything. And if anything weird starts to happen, that's just part of the fun.
Yeah.
That's just part of the fun of the wallpaper. So open it on a computer.
Okay. Thanks also to Connor McDaniel. Hey, everyone loves McDonald's burgers, but have you ever tried a McDaniel's burger?
No, I've never even
Connor
heard of it.
McDaniel's?
Yeah, I know like whose it is,
Ooh,
but I
boy.
don't. Is it good?
No.
Okay.
No.
So that's why I haven't tried it yet. That sounds terrible.
It's mostly raw beef patty, raw bread,
What's raw bread?
raw onion, maybe the worst bit of all. But it is healthier
It doesn't sound
if
like
your
it.
stomach can handle the raw beef, which frankly, I mean, I don't think that's up to food safety standards. I think that's the reason McDonald's don't serve the McDaniels.
It's described as the wallpaper of food because it kind of corrupts your body from the inside.
Right, Connor at his restaurant is like, it's gonna feel like it doesn't belong in your stomach, but just keep it down there. Just accept.
Accept.
Thanks also to Jordan McIntaggart.
Jordan is good at boredom. So if any time, let's say hypothetically, the people of the commune are revolting against the leaders, we get Jordan in to do the boarding. And he'll kind of board up all the walls, board up all the windows, board up the doors to kind of just ensure we have a safe zone.
And you're probably wondering, how can someone be particularly good at that? Well, let me tell you, they own a lot of wood and they own a lot of nails.
Right.
He doesn't have a hammer, but we lend him the hammer. And then
fine.
he's just like, next panel. Like, he is very fast.
It's really remarkable. And then obviously afterwards we take the hammer back because he really can't be trusted with a hammer.
Yeah.
If he's not boarding up, the hammer just starts swinging.
Same speed.
Yeah, all of a sudden he starts thinking he has to board up your head. So you have to be very careful with him.
And lastly, today, thank you to Sarah Mayer. Oh, Sarah, what a lovely name you have. I'm afraid we are gonna be taking that. We can't have anyone running around the commune being called Mayor.
Oh, I see,
I know,
right.
I understand that some people will understand.
It's just confusing.
That's spelt differently and all of that. But
Yeah.
no. We can't risk people thinking that you have any authority.
Yes.
Because it's a flat structure, flat ecosystem. We're all equal in the commune.
Except for us, slightly raised on a little platform there.
Yeah. we're equal, but we sleep in different areas, eat different food, wear different clothes, and are allowed to go different places.
And are boarded up in a different castle.
Yes.
And I know when you joined, we initially said that we may or may not take your name. We're taking your name.
Yeah, it was a joke.
That was a little joke. We're obviously taking the name. So, but one name is cool. Prince. We had to take his name too when he joined the commune, because we were like, well, we can't have anyone think that he's royal blood. But Shakira, Madonna, lots of cool people have one name.
Sure.
So you're gonna love it.
So thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you to everyone else we've shouted out today, and to everyone we're going to shout out in future. We'll be back with more of those from next week, along with another brand new paranormal tale. We'll see you before Tuesday also, with the after party on Friday only on Patreon.
Woo! See you then.